I am Haley Baker, a junior at St. James High School, and adding a cycle of abuse prevention program to school districts around the country will benefit children and their families and can help people stop cycles of abuse and addiction. Having information readily available to the public not only can help keep people informed, but can also help people out of abusive situations. Having information become common knowledge and the internet having many resources, people can learn the signs and help themselves or people around them out of cycles or abusive situations. In 2019, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services stated that the number of victims decreased nationally by 4% from 2015 to 2019. At the state level, the percent change of victims of abuse and neglect ranged from a 62.5% decrease to a 100% increase from 2015 to 2019. Having a source of education about mental health, addiction, and abuse in schools helps destigmatize those topics and makes it easier for children to be more open with others about issues they or someone they are close to may be going through. In 2009, Crazy So What, a school program to promote mental health and reduce stigma, results of a pilot study case that, at the baseline, only 5.2% of the intervention group would talk with their teacher about a mental health problem. Immediately after the program, this number increased to 10.6%, and after 3 months, to 17.9%. Under the Act, school districts that are receiving government funding must add an anti-drug substance abuse program to their curriculum. Added curriculum must meet the requirements given by the government in order for it to be taught in schools. In 2006, Safe Supportive Learning stated that IHEs receiving federal funds or financial assistance must develop and implement a program to prevent the unlawful possession, use, or distribution of illicit drugs and alcohol by students and employees. Compared to the DARE program, the Cycle of Abuse program would teach younger children who to contact for help or resources and educate them on the brutality of addiction and cycles of substance, physical, emotional, and financial abuse. Children's guardians or the children themselves may not want information about abuse, addiction, and physical abuse being taught. Wilson states that primary barriers were parents' perception that their children are too young and not knowing how to talk to their children about the topic. Because of how stigmatized the topics of abuse are, most guardians and parents feel uncomfortable talking to their kids about those things until they think they are old enough to understand. The DARE and other anti-abuse programs may not be effective enough to keep people safe from abuse or abusing substances in the future. Landmark Discovery authors state, critics argue that the DARE program was not effective because it was delivered by policemen rather than addiction prevention specialists. Police may not know how to properly educate young children, so they may not phrase what they are saying right or accidentally scare children by what they are trying to educate them on. Parents and guardians are powerful role models for children. In the case of abuse and addiction, it may be hard to break a familial cycle. Stephan states that children who live in homes where parents smoke are more likely to become smokers. Parents who abuse drugs or alcohol are more likely to find their children someday doing the same. For children that grow up in abusive situations, it may be hard for them not to follow in their footsteps as they grow older. If it is something that a person has grown up with, it may be hard for them to realize the problem. The curriculum listed was adapted from the DARE program lesson plans. The older the children get, the more in-depth the lessons are. The curriculum spans from kindergarten to the 12th grade, roughly 13 years. Each lesson for each grade group is around 3 to 5 weeks. The entire program is around 17 hours. Week 1 of lessons for kindergarten consists of creating colorful, illustrated posters for teachers to have in their rooms to spark discussion. Is an easy introduction into the topic of abuse, especially at such an early age. This lesson is around 15 minutes long. Week 2 and 3 of lessons consist of giving an age-appropriate overview of such harsh topics. Is a good way to ease them into it and make sure they do not get uncomfortable with the topic and no longer want to talk or learn about it. These lessons are roughly 30 minutes each. The entire curriculum for kindergarten should be 45 minutes total throughout 3 weeks. Week 1 of lessons for 2nd grade consists of giving a brief review of their previous lessons and to catch them up if they have missed anything. This lesson is roughly 25 minutes long. Weeks 2 and 3 of lessons consist of having younger children learn from an interactive booklet for 2 weeks. Is a better way to keep their attention. Week 1 of lessons for 2nd grade consists of giving a brief review of their previous lessons and to catch them up if they have missed anything. This lesson is roughly 25 minutes long. Weeks 2 and 3 of lessons consist of having younger children learn from an interactive booklet for 2 lessons. Is a better way to keep their attention than a talking lesson since the children are around 6 to 8 years old. Interactive and colorful activities are better for them. These lessons are roughly 25 minutes each. Weeks 4 of lessons consist of teaching the second 2-lesson spanning booklet. This one being addiction specifically. Bright and colorful booklets and activities will help keep the information memorized. This lesson is around 45 minutes long. Weeks 5 of lessons consist of a continuation of the addiction booklet, plus a review of everything they have done the past 5 lessons. This lesson is roughly 55 minutes long. The entire curriculum for 2nd grade should be 225 minutes, around 4 hours total throughout 5 weeks. Week 1 of lessons for 4th grade consists of giving a brief review of their previous lessons and to catch them up if they have missed anything. This lesson is around 25 minutes long. Week 2 of lessons consists of an introduction to cycles of abuse and how they form, and how they become a cycle. This lesson is roughly 30 minutes long. Weeks 3 of lessons consist of an introduction to cycles of addiction and how they form, and how they become a cycle. This lesson is roughly 30 minutes long. Weeks 4 consist of an age-appropriate lesson on how cycles are broken and what happens after that, avoiding the harsher parts of the topic. This lesson is roughly 45 minutes long. The entire curriculum for 4th grade should be 130 minutes, around 2 hours total throughout 3 weeks. Week 1 of lessons for 5th grade consists of giving a brief review of their previous lessons and to catch them up if they have missed anything. This lesson is around 25 minutes long. Weeks 2 and 3 consist of describing the signs to identify abuse and addiction and how they get those people help. These lessons are roughly 45 minutes each. The entire curriculum for 5th grade should be 115 minutes, around 2 hours total throughout 3 weeks. Week 1 of lessons for 7th grade consists of giving a brief review of their previous lessons and to catch them up if they have missed anything. This lesson is around 25 minutes long. Weeks 2 and 3 of lessons consist of an in-depth lesson booklet on breaking cycles of addiction and abuse, spanning 3 lessons to giving children the information they need to fully understand the dangers. These lessons are roughly 60 minutes each. Week 4 of lessons consist of 3 lesson-spanning booklets informing children about how cycles are formed and how a cycle works, how to break a cycle, and how breaking a cycle can affect someone and the aftermath. This lesson is roughly 60 minutes. Week 5 of lessons consists of giving a review of everything they have learned and making sure they understand before moving on. This lesson is roughly 30 minutes long. The entire curriculum for 7th grade should be 175 minutes, around 3 hours total throughout 5 weeks. Week 1 of lessons for 10th grade consists of giving a brief review of their previous lessons and to catch them up if they have missed anything. This lesson is around 25 minutes. Weeks 2 and 3 of lessons consist of students getting to really learn the dangers of abuse and addiction and the cycles that may go with them. They also learn how to break a cycle themselves. These lessons are roughly 50 minutes long. Week 4 of lessons consist of giving a review of everything they have learned and making sure they understand how to break cycles, know when to report a case, and the dangers that go with addiction and abuse. This lesson is around 120 minutes. Week 5 is the conclusion of the program and includes a graduation. This is roughly 60 minutes. The entire curriculum for 10th grade should be 305 minutes, around 5 hours total throughout 5 weeks. For the parents in the community, there are open resources to help further their education on the topics their children are learning, making sure the most people possible learn about the dangers of cycles of abuse and addiction. The resources correspond with what the children are currently learning. Realizing resources corresponding with what the students are learning helps in making sure the conversations carry on outside the classroom and opening the topic up, making sure the most amount of people possible have the opportunity to access the information about breaking cycles of abuse and addiction.